Hello and welcome to Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland AFC. My name is Lee Thurkel. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and today I'm joined again for the third time, I think, is Anth Stephenson from Wyoming. He's from SAFC NASA. Anth, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me back.
Brilliant. You're always welcome on here, mate. Absolutely. And we have a debut for Jesse Burch, who is in Los Angeles, California. How are you, Jesse?
Fine. We're trying not to burn down out here, but
Yeah, you've had a horrific few weeks, haven't you? I mean, what's it like at the moment?
a lot better right now. The winds are supposed to come back Monday, and everybody's worried about that. But the fires are mostly contained. But it's like been our 9/11. It's pretty terrible. It's been awful.
Yeah, I mean,
But
some of the
yeah,
satellite images I saw were pretty, I don't
yeah,
know, like an apocalypse, weren't they, really?
yeah, yeah,
But hopefully the things can get under control.
yeah.
But anyway, so today we'll be reviewing last night's draw with Burnley, 0-0. We could have won, should have won, but we'll get onto that later. But first, Jesse, we've
Mm.
had quite a few characters on this podcast, but we've never had an actor. Um, so tell us your Sunderland story.
Well, I'm a U.S. native. I live in Los Angeles. I've been here since I was four. I've been following the lads since Kevin Phillips won the Golden Boot. So I guess that was 99 2000 or so the Phillips Quinn partnership is sort of what attracted me to the team. I was looking for a team to support. I was kind of starting to get into the Premiership at the time, and games were just starting to be shown over here. It was kind of hard to get them, but very occasionally you'd have a game on. And so I don't know, I was just drawn to the team. I really liked that partnership, and it was a good year to be following Sunderland. I mean, it was a great finish that year, and it was an exciting team. Um, yeah, I think my earliest memory was going actually to a pub with a friend of mine in Santa Monica for the derby. It was that year, and we drew 1-1. Phillips scored, and I feel like they had a Greek defender in their squad who I think tied it up with a header. I'm forgetting his name.
Dabizas.
Dabizas, I think.
Nikos
Yeah, I think
Dabizas.
Dabizas. Yeah, I think he scored the tying goal, which was probably for the best because the pub was full of Newcastle supporters, and I got out alive. But a guy did follow me out to the street and wanted to fight with me, which was bizarre because I don't know, it was stupid. I've been able to see the lads twice. I saw them in North Carolina, and I saw them in Sacramento when they were here. Um, that was the Kermit the Frog away kit debut. The supporters were brilliant. We had a great meetup in Sacramento that I helped organize through NASA. That was a big thing we organized up in Sacramento, and they were brilliant. That was fantastic. That was probably my best memory going up there and just spending so much time with so many of the people who flew. Like one guy flew from Belgium, which was insane and amazing. You guys are the best supporters in the world. I mean, truly. And then and then the low point or the funniest point or the most sort of Sunderland moment was the 8-0 loss under Poyet against Southampton. And that was another NASA get together we had on the West Coast. And we had like a room of like 50 people watching that, which was that was no fun. So you asked me my favorite players. Obviously, Super Kev and Quinny. I always liked Steve Malbranc when he was playing for us. This is the Malbranc kit. This is the away kit that they were wearing at the time. And then my current favorites probably are Luke O'Nien, who's divisive for some reason, and I love Isidore. He's amazing. I think he's just absolutely brilliant. And I guess I used to be in NASA. I'm not really anymore because there's no NASA out here. There's no place to watch games because we're not in the Premiership anymore. And COVID kind of killed off both being relegated twice and COVID sort of killed off our in-person meetups. But I hope to be able to see people when we get going again. I used to go down and see Alan Dodds, who lives down near San Diego, and I'd go down there and meet up with them for games. And pretty much now I just watch on SAFC. I subscribe, and that's
Yeah,
about
yeah,
what I watch just by myself.
yeah. And what do you think's kept you motivated to like keep being a fan? Because like I mean, we probably had more lows than highs during your time of supporting the club. Do you reckon?
To be honest, it's the I've asked myself that a lot, and I could have easily walked away at any time because I don't have anything that ties me to the region, no family or anything. But it's it's the community on the Ready to Go message boards. That's a huge one. Um, I'm a pretty loyal person, and I don't know, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I started supporting another team. It now that I've invested all this time, um, it just wouldn't be right. And like I said, I've enjoyed meeting all the supporters. I've made really good friends with, some folks, and I keep in touch with them, and it's just been, I just love this community, and that's a big part of it. Honestly, that's a huge part of it is this community. My wife, and she's sort of like, my wife and kids are like, okay, Dad, whatever. But I'm completely, I mean, I go nuts when we score. I mean, and nobody understands why it's so important, but I guess I'm the only one in the family. So,
Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant, mate. Right, and I'm gonna ask you two more questions before we move on, because
yeah.
my brother's asked me to ask you these. Because you're
Okay.
an actor, what's been your favorite role, and are you working on any projects at the moment?
So I see my favorite part probably, wow. Well, the favorite on-camera thing that I got to work with Cameron Diaz for this movie called What to Expect When You're Expecting. It was the biggest part that I ever got. And the reason that scene was so fun, and it was just a scene in this film, but I got to I was working with Cameron Diaz, but I also got to work with Cheryl Cole. And being able to tell her to her face that I was a Sunderland supporter was incredibly satisfying. It was incredibly satisfying. She didn't know what the hell to do with me, and I knew all about the premiership. I knew all about her and Ashley and all this other shit, and it was fantastic to be able to have some banter with her. She didn't know what to do with me, so that was super fun. And then the project, I guess technically I'm in the middle of, although we're on strike against the video game industries, is I'm doing the voice of the male necromancer in the video game Diablo 4. And it's a lead role and I'm one of the avatars you can play. I'm not a gamer, but if other people are, you can play as me. I'm doing a British accent for the whole game. And so I'm technically in the middle of that game. I've done three years of work on that game, and
Wow.
that's brilliant because I can look like this and do that part, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's amazing, mate. And thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right then, Anth, on to last night's match then. 0-0 with Burnley at Turf Moor. Listen, we would have taken a point before full
Yep.
time, wouldn't we? But the way it ended, we were very good at it, weren't we?
Yeah, mate, we definitely would have took a point. To miss two penalties is obviously it's horrendous, and the feeling after the match was, we got a point, but feel like we lost. Um, I feel horrible for Isidore's. Jess said I love the lad. He's really got engrossed with what we do at Sunderland, and he's fell in love with the place. And to see what he was like when he walked off the pitch last night was just devastating. But like I was heartbroken because I feel like, like Jesse said, I was jumping downstairs on my own watching the match and getting a penalty in the last minute, and you think you can do it, but the missed two was just it was horrible, man. It was really bad. Like it did feel like we lost last night.
Yeah. Jesse, were you surprised that he stepped up to take the second?
I was a little bit, but I was also really impressed. If I'm honest, I thought it took a lot of courage. Um, you know, I was really upset with Trafford. I thought I'm surprised he wasn't booked. He should have been booked for all the time wasting. I don't think he ever did get a yellow card for that.
The second one he did, yeah.
Oh, he did get it. Okay, good. But I was really disgusted with that. I know a lot of people are like, well, if Pato had done that, it would have been different, or we would have liked it. But I don't know. I'm never happy to see that kind of shithousery. But I was impressed that Isidore stepped up for the second one, and I wasn't altogether surprised he missed it. I just had a bad feeling, and I just thought, I don't know. I just thought maybe, maybe that wasn't his night. But I again, I'm proud that he stood up. I know that Labrise has been taking a lot of flack for sort of allowing this, or it was poor game management. But I think that's insane. You've got to give support to the player if he's willing to stand up there and really courageously try to take another crack at it. And I thought it was a good move,
Yep.
even though it didn't go our way.
Yep. And I thought his style to take the penalty wasn't the best because if you look at penalty takers nowadays, I mean, to give an example, like Cole Palmer or Jorginho, they often kind of tease the goalkeeper and wait for them to make the move and then they place it. Isidore didn't really look at the goalkeeper, he just went to blast it. And after the match, James Trafford said in an interview that they'd studied Isidore's penalties from his time in Russia, and they said that he usually went centre or centre right. And that's what he did again, didn't he? So do you not think maybe he could have been a little bit smarter and maybe he's like waited for the goalkeeper because the goalkeeper did actually make his move quite early, but Isidore's sole
Yeah.
focus was on the ball.
Yeah, he did make the keeper went really early for both of them. He really anticipated where he was going to go. And to be fair, with the second one, I was surprised he went the same way. And maybe it's just a comfort thing for Isidore. But I really thought he should have changed it up. But yeah, a little bit of the gamesmanship from the goalkeeper really slowed things down, put a really, bad vibe into Isidore's head, especially for the second one. And it just took forever. I've never known two penalty kicks to like forever to be taken. And I think that was part of it. But yeah, I think he should have mixed it up for the second one at least, mate.
Yeah, I think they said 2.5 minutes per penalty it took them, and yeah, it was smart, but shithousery from Trafford,
Yeah.
and even before the match in the tunnel, I don't know if you saw the Sky Sports cameras were in the tunnel, and he was actually kind of like trying to wind up Patterson. He was like tapping Daniel on the shoulder. You could see that he was trying to get into the heads of some of the players. So,
Mm.
but listen, it is what it is. He missed a penalty. He missed two penalties. It could have been worse. He could be Martin Palermo, who missed three penalties for Argentina against Colombia in Copa America 1999. So
Oof.
luckily he didn't get that far. But anyway, Jesse, Enzo Lefebvre made his debut, which was expected because I mean, if we're paying the wages of a 20 million euro signing, you'd expect him to come in and start. The surprising thing was that he came on the left wing, and Aushis dropped out. Was that a bit of a surprise that he didn't play more centrally?
Yeah, I mean, I thought so. Although, again, this is, a bigger question because then who do you drop in the middle? But I'm going to defer to Labrise because he knows him. I mean, he knows what he can do, and I thought he was pretty bright down the left. I mean, he started a little bit slowly, but he wasn't necessarily getting a lot of service. But as the game went on, I thought he actually started to really show why we signed him. I mean, he really was making good. He had good movement down the left. But I would imagine that eventually we'll see him, central. But again, who do you drop? Who do you take out?
Well, my point to you, Anth, is can we have like Rig, Neil, Job, and Lefay on the pitch at the same time? Would that work?
Mate, I was surprised he started. And, we've been playing, Aushis out on the left, and he's not really a winger. But I was surprised he started. Like Jesse said, he started slow and got better last night. But I see him more as sitting behind Isidore, playing the balls in behind to run onto. But that would mean for me that would probably be Rig dropped out, and he's been one of
Yeah.
our best players this year. And when we brought Lefay in, it makes you wonder if there was something gonna go down this transfer window. If one of these lads who we've loved this year is gonna be on their way, but at the moment it doesn't look like it. So I think he's brought him in because he loves him, but somebody's going to have to drop out, and it's going to be tough on one of these lads who's played well this year because Job and Rig have been two of our best players this year. And I think it would be either one of those two that replaces him. And I know squad rotation's a huge thing, especially in the championship right now. But it's like, why is he here? Are we going to rotate these lads on a regular basis? But as you said at the start, we brought him in for a lot of money, and what it sounds like we're paying all of it, which is a big gamble from us.
Hmm. Yeah, and Jesse, do
Mm.
you think that, for example, LeFay offers something a little different to Job, Reagan, Neil in terms of creativity?
Oh yeah, for certain. But then, we also have Mundell who's going to come back. And honestly, I didn't think Aushish was doing a terrible job on the left. I actually thought I was really impressed. He was offering a lot of decent crosses. He was unlucky with a couple of shots over the last couple of games that just went wide. And um, I mean, look, it's a problem that I'm happy to have right now. It's an embarrassment of riches as far as I'm concerned because we've got clearly some class players, and I think there's a class player in Lafay as well. Um, and so, I mean, does somebody have to make way? Maybe, or they're really going for it. It's possible that they're just saying, all right, let's get promoted this time. Let's really do this. Let's spend some money and beef up our squad and really make a push. And I think, if you look at how we played, especially on the second half against Burnley, we were doing really, really well. I mean, I loved the high press. I loved how they were, hounding Trafford for every ball, especially Job and Isidore up there. Sorry, I'm getting off topic, but what was the question again?
No, do you think no, do you think LeFay offers something a little different to Rig, Job, and Neil? Like in my opinion, that Rig, Job, and Neil are very similar players who play in the same position, and I think Rig is a bit not wasted but less effective when he plays just behind Isidore.
Yeah, I think so too. But I don't know that LeFay offers anything. I didn't see anything that demonstrates that he offers anything terribly different from, let's say, Rig. I mean, Rig is a really talented youngster, but he's still very young, and it's okay if he's not played every single game. We don't have to blow him out. We can allow him to rest in between games potentially, and maybe just play Job, Lafay, and I don't know who on the right. Oh, I guess Roberts, who takes a lot of flack as well. But every time he gets the ball, he's pulling three defenders off. He's pulling three defenders with him every time he gets the ball. No, he's not scoring goals all the time, but that's why we have him in Manchester, City don't.
Yeah, no, and apart from that, I mean, he never plays the wrong pass, I don't think, as well. He always keeps possession. He never wastes the ball.
Right.
Anth, it was a slow start. It took us about 25, 30 minutes to get going, didn't it, really? Because Burnley were having a lot of success, weren't they, early on with those diagonal balls behind our fullbacks. Is that maybe something that like other teams may look at in the future against us?
Apparently, yeah, it's like I didn't expect it. Especially when it went over to Sirkin a lot early doors. Ball over the top seemed to get turned around pretty easily, which was a little worrying. With those like physical teams like Coventry, Millwall, that kind, probably will look at the long ball a little bit more now. But I was surprised, especially when Hume started being susceptible to it. He's usually pretty good at reading what's coming through and cutting it out, but yesterday seemed to be a little bit out of sorts. But as you said, after the first 25, 30 minutes, we grew into the game. And to be fair, mate, Patterson really didn't have much to do. He made a couple of good saves, and then I can't really even remember him doing much during the second half.
No, I
Like
mean,
it was solid from us through, I think, for 60 minutes. I think we were pretty solid and comfortable after that.
yeah, no, I think like they had four shots on target, but the only one that comes to my head is the one in the first half,
Yeah.
where he tipped it around the post, and then the rest of them were like
Mhm.
basically kind of like shot come crosses. So he didn't really have much to do. But I mean, Jesse, going to Burnley stats, I mean, they've only conceded 9 goals this season, which is pretty impressive. You could see that, couldn't you, by the way their defensive
Mhm.
shape was set up. As soon as we had the ball, they gave us absolutely no space to play our game, did they not?
Yeah, they were playing us the way we've been playing a lot of other teams, and it was it's probably good on Parker's part the way they set up. They were hounding us in the same way that we've been hounding other teams, waiting for us to make a mistake and then pouncing on it. And that first 20 minutes, I mean, we couldn't put two passes together. It was really a rough watch. But any other day, and we actually score, obviously both penalties, but um, uh, I'm spacing on his name. Eliezer
Mayenda.
Mayenda, Jesus Christ. Sorry. Mayenda hit the post. He got or didn't hit the post, but he got his
Blocks.
ball, his shot was on its way. We hit the post, I think, at another time. I can't remember from whose shot. Isidore, maybe.
Yep.
So I thought we brought the game to them, but they did set up very well. And Trafford had a good game. I mean, let's face it, he really did very well.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a big lad.
he's the reason why they paid 19 million from, isn't it? They paid
Yeah.
what? Yeah, 19 million pound. And then so the second half, it got off to a quick start, didn't it? Because as Jess just said there, 46 minutes, Lefebvre does a bit of magic on the left hand side, plays a wonderful ball across. Isidore's first touch, as I've seen before, like his first touch sometimes isn't the best, is it not? It sometimes gets away from him, but he manages to get like a crisp shot off, hits the post. He should be maybe he's hitting the target at least, you think?
Yeah, definitely, mate. At least make the goalkeeper make a save. You're right about his first touch. There's been a few times. Look at his goal at home a couple of weeks ago where he had a first touch, but his speed usually gets him back into place, and he's one of those where he should definitely be making the goalkeeper make a save with that one. It was a great snapshot and he got a lot of power on it, but he's got to get that 6 inches to his left to get that inside the post, mate.
Do you think that was clear on his mind when he got the first penalty as well?
No, for the miss, probably not. Penalties is it's the situation. I mean, I think he had a lot of time to think on the penalty. I think it was definitely down to just how long Trafford was time waste. I mean, the first one he had his gloves off and everything, said his laces needed tie-in and all of this stuff. But I think it's a lonely time when you're standing up there to take a penalty. You've got their players in your ear, goalkeepers playing mind games. I think that was just down to the situation. I don't think the miss will affect him because we've seen him do it before. He's had a shot, missed it, and then he's come back and got another goal. The penalties were different situation. I think he was in his one head for both because their goalkeeper didn't help.
Yeah. So Jesse, how does he bounce back from those two penalty misses?
Just gets back in and scores goals. I mean, I appreciated the fact that a 9 was over in his ear almost immediately at the end of the game, and he's worked really hard to try to help players with through their mistakes and everything. And even the Burnley players were consoling him, which I actually thought was pretty classy. But Labrise isn't going to drop him because of it. He's still an unbelievably crafty, forward. I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll be fine. He just needs to get back in and start scoring goals again.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll be on Tuesday night against Derby County. Right then. So Jesse, continuing with you, we had an injury scare last night. Chris Mepham went off injured. Apparently it's his hamstring. Hopefully it's just a bit of tightness. But it's not a bad replacement, is it, to have Dan Ballard on the bench to come in?
Yeah, well, and Hilda had a good game, the FA Cup game apparently. So I wasn't able to see it because it was blacked out here, and so I was also very busy. But reports were that Hilda actually had a pretty solid game from the beginning to end. I think we're okay in that area. And Ballard, I'm fine with. O'Nine's a better passer, but Ballard's good in the air. He'll be okay if he has to deputize.
Yeah,
I think we're okay in that regard.
Anth, would you agree with that? Any concerns about Ballard coming in for Mepham?
No, not at all, mate. He's still young, pretty solid. Jesse said, great with his head, scores goals. It's I even thought about how would Mepham and Ballard play together. But absolutely either of them would be, fine for Mepham. And the thing with seeing Mepham last night was that he walked off under his own steam. So hopefully it was just to pull a little bit of tightness and it was a precaution. Having Ballard on the bench to give us that backup was, I think they took him off as a precaution. I think it'll be okay. He might not be ready for Derby, but I think he'll be ready for next weekend because it didn't look bad when he walked off.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed then. We'll see about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Jesse, Eliezer Mayenda, do you think he knows his best position? Is he a winger or is he a forward?
I have no idea. Honestly, it's. I feel like we've seen his best probably as a forward, but I thought he did quite well when he came on. He had very few touches last night, but when he did, he actually did great things with them. I still think he's young and rusty. I mean, in a way, and just needs to play. Um, he also has a sometimes a pretty bad first touch in the same way, and and occasionally it does bite him in the ass because he ends up shooting wide or whatever. But he's a big kid. He's clearly very strong. He could come good. It's just you know is he going to be starting ahead of Roberts all the time? I don't know. I know that people want him to. They want Labrise to start Mayanda in favor of Roberts or instead of Roberts, but I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah. And for me,
Um,
like my ender for me would be better off the bench the last 25, 30 minutes when the game's
yeah.
open and stretched. Use his pace, either if it's up front or on the wing or just behind. I don't know what you think about that.
I definitely think he's a forward, mate. I really do. The thing with us bringing all these young lads in is just like they don't get enough game time, and especially Mayende, he's been injured, but I definitely think he's a forward. And you're right, like last 20 minutes, the old Man United Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back in the day come in when the team's getting a little tired. He's got that pace. I mean, you saw it last night. He's got a turn of pace when he gets going. He's got the weirdest running style with the ball, but the lad can move. And but I think he can definitely cause a problem. Stretch the back four. But I definitely think being a forward is his strongest position. I just don't think we've seen the best of it yet, but we've got a good amount of time to be able to see that.
Yeah, it's funny you mention his running style because he actually reminds me of Michael Johnson, the 400 meters runner. I don't know if you remember him, the American foot. He runs a
Yeah,
bit. He runs a bit like him,
yeah,
but yeah, he does have this good connection with this at all, way playing the through ball, doesn't he?
yeah.
Right then. So we're currently fourth place, 51 points after 27 games, 39 scored, 22 conceded. And apparently Sky Sports last night put a stat on that said Labrise is the third fastest manager to get 50 points after 26 games, which is some going, isn't it, Jesse, in his first season in English football?
Yeah, I don't think any of us would have expected it. I don't who of us, I mean, maybe you knew something about him, but I know nothing about him when he started. And I don't think anybody was expecting him to just go gangbusters on this league like he has. I mean, he's been incredible. He's just been incredible. He's brought this team together in a way that I don't remember seeing since maybe Keane. I mean, he's fantastic. Clearly understands the game, and he's got us playing some really beautiful football. So I'm really excited for him.
Yeah, and he never gets too high, never gets too low. He's always calm. And I think that's kind of someone that's been needed at Sunderland, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think he's a common influence. Sometimes I can see him probably be like reading the riot act when he needs to, but for the most part, with these lads, 90% of them being as young as they are, just needs to give them a arm around the shoulder, tell them what to work on. With me being a former coach as well, I can see him like the tactician. Like he doesn't keep the same style of play all the time. He tries to change it up for the different teams that we play. We play the high press against some of the teams. Sometimes we've sat off. But I think he's definitely had an unbelievable impact. And like Jesse, like I don't think anybody really knew. You'd have to know your football like beyond ends to know who he was. But I think he's done an unreal job, and us to be in this position in January and looking still at the top two is we're heading in the right direction, and it should make every Sunderland fan happy.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty clear that the players that he's picking are basically players that graft, that they give 100% and they work their knackers off. And you can
Yeah.
understand why players like maybe Ekwa, Aushish, Bar, he's just forgotten about them because he just thinks that they're not going to give that every game, whereas the other lads that are playing, they are. Would you agree with that, Jesse?
Yeah, except for Ashish, I thought he did pretty well when he was given a run here in the last couple of games. I thought he did very well, and it seemed to be that he was working quite hard and enjoying his football when he was playing. Um, but yeah, I agree. I don't get the sense that he has a lot of time for people who aren't going to give 100%. And in that sense, I think he really understands the support, um, because that's characteristic of Sunderland supporters. I mean, we want people who are going to, run through brick walls for us, and that makes perfect sense. Um, which is why past seasons have been so disappointing.
No, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Anth, you'll know the same as me since like childhood. If you give everything for the shirt, even like celebrate a tackle like a goal, that's the Sunderland way, isn't it? Right then, and so we've got third place Burnley, 53 points, 31 scored. So out of the top four, they're the lowest. They've only scored 31. They've conceded 9, which is like the best defensive record. Second place Leeds, 53 points, but they play tomorrow against Sheff Wed. They've scored 48 goals, so they're the top scorers. Now, for me, in terms of attacking, they're like a cut above the rest. Leeds. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Leeds will take first, mate, to be fair. And I think it's one from the other three. And it depends on who goes on a good run. And we've all had bad spells, we've all had little blips, but we're starting to get into the business end of the season now. And it's if any team can put like a streak of 4, 5, 6 games together, it's going to be hard to slow anybody down. But I think Leeds will take first. I just think I'm hoping we can still get second. And I think because I've got a good old Leeds fan, a mate of mine, and he said he would love us to go up because it would make good viewing in the Premier League to have Sunderland and Leeds back in the Premier League. You know, big fan bases, passionate fan bases. So I'm still hoping on for second. I'll take second place right now. I'll snap your hand off for it.
Yeah, me too. And I reckon Burnley, I don't think they've got the goals in their team to keep up with the push for the top two, because having only scored 31 goals, and last night you could see their fans were getting frustrated at like wasting time at the back pass. They're like insisting they get forward, so I think they're going to struggle as well. But the plus side of that is that our most difficult away games to come, I think we've got Leeds away, and we've got is it West Brom away and Middlesbrough away. And after that, I think we've got a pretty easy, well, not easy, but on paper you'd think, well, we can get some results there. We've played what Burnley, Sheffield United, Blackburn twice, so there's really not many that difficult games left. So you'd like to think we can pick up some more points and stay in the run. But anyway, Jesse, we've got Derby on Tuesday. They're in a relegation scrap, the 19th. We're playing away. You'd expect us to go and at least win.
Yeah, that's a must win. I mean, at this point, yeah, if we're going to make a push, we have to win that game. And they've lost 4 in a row. We arguably should come away with 3 points easily, but God, you never know. I mean, I've learned not to get my hopes up first. You just can't. But yeah, we have to expect to win that game.
Yeah, that game and next Saturday we've got Plymouth at home, so you'd be hoping for at least 6 points, no?
Yeah, mate. You've got to go into both of those matches and take a maximum. It's just the time of the year now where we can't be dropping any points, and we owe Plymouth one from the start of the season as well. So and take them at the Stadium of Light. But yeah, we've got to take 6 points. But you can just see. I don't want to say the most Sunderland thing ever would to go to Derby and don't take anything away from that match. It's the hope we can't stand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the top 4, like we are pulling away. I mean, there's like a 9-point gap between us and Blackburn in 5th, and then West Brom and Borough are just a point behind in 41. So you'd like to think that the top 4 now we're going to have like a top 4 battle for the top 2, right?
Yeah.
Jesse, on the transfer window very quickly. We've got a couple minutes left. We've been linked with Tom Cannon and Ben Burch and Diaz. Seems we're in a battle with Sheffield United. Would you be bothered if we missed out on either?
I mean, a little, yeah. I think it wouldn't hurt for us to have a little bit more strength up top. It's a lot of pressure to put on Mayenda, like I said, who's young. Roberts isn't chipping in with a lot of goals. Lefay might start scoring. And, Isidore is, like I said, he's a silky, amazing forward. I mean, it's just great to watch, but we can't rely on just his goals. I don't think it's prudent.
Yeah, and if we had to sign one of the two, Cannon or Burch and Diaz, who would you go for?
I love Diaz, mate. I've seen him a lot. He's got a good attitude. He works his backside off. When he was at Blackburn, I think we played him at the Stadium of Light last year or the year before, and he never stopped running, and he's always a danger in the box. Cannon's a bit of all about him. He's got that kind of a me, myself, and I attitude. But the rumors going around right now is like Sheffield United are going to get both of them, and we're going after some Croatian lad as well, like an under-21 Croatian kid. So I was surprised that we like all of the face stuff came out and we knew about it, and it's the first time in a while. I've been so used to over the last few years of like a surprise signing, so I wouldn't be surprised if we signed somebody out of the blue and we didn't know about it.
Usually happens.
Yeah.
Right, gents, that's all we've got time for today. Just want to say thank you for your time and coming on. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and how are the lads?
How are the lads?
Cheers, mate. How are the lads?
Thank you.